Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time I'm playing in the recently mega buffed M4A1 Revalorisé. This is a tier 8 French premium medium tank, and in patch 917 this tank literally went from probably one of the most average, or I'd say specialist, tier 8 premium medium tanks to certainly being one of the better ones, at least in my opinion. Now, to let you all know who might not be updated with the statistics or checked out my 9.17 changes video, let me just quickly highlight what are the changes to the Revalorisé. Dispersion while moving, reduced from 0.18 to 0.16. Now, dispersion in World of Tanks is a hidden statistic that they don't present to you in the garage, but if you use websites like TanksGG, it kind of factors in with aim time to kind of balance out raw aim time, and it's bizarre that Wargaming don't really give it to you in the garage. Now, what dispersion means, and I'm not talking about the accuracy dispersion as it's quite often talked about, at least in the garage, is how much your reticle will bloom when you're moving. But as if that wasn't enough, there's another version of dispersion, and that is when you turn your turret. And the turret dispersion on this tank was also buffed even more significantly from 0.16 to 0.13. Now that is some real big effective aim time buffs to the tank, or do you know what, dispersion is even better than aim time, because as far as I'm aware that's also how accurate your vehicle is going to be on the move, obviously taking into account accuracy as well. But as if this wasn't enough, also the aim time of the tank went from 2.8 seconds down to 2.4 seconds. And the reason why that, although it doesn't sound very special, 2.4 seconds aim time, I might be thinking, well, that's not very good for a medium tank. It's certainly not excellent for a medium tank. But that's because the Revalorisé is it's specialized at having this mammoth 105mm gun with as much alpha damage as you will be accustomed to having on your tier 9 medium tanks. 390 alpha damage. There's only one other medium vehicle that's premium that can do that, and very few medium tanks at tier 8 in the game can actually do that much alpha damage, and that's going to be the T-34-3. And although the T-34-3 has had recent depression buffs to the tank, now having 5 degrees of gun depression, which makes it bearable to play, this tank on the other hand totally leapfrogged it. Previously it had 7 degrees of gun depression. Well, I guess it didn't leapfrog it because it was always ahead of it, but now it has 10 degrees of gun depression. 10 degrees is pretty much best in class for tier 8 medium tanks. At least until the Swedes came in, there weren't really any high tier tanks in the game that have above 10 degrees of gun depression, as much as you would have on your STB-1 or on your Centurion Action 10. And so the Revalorisé can work ridgelines like a total boss. Look at that. We don't have to go over the ridge to be able to shoot that IS. We can pretty much shoot him when we are situated on top of the ridge. And finally, also, the mobility of this tank was buffed. Its power to weight was increased from 13.14 up to 15.71, and also a tiny accuracy buff from 0.36 to 0.35. Basically, this tank got a hell of a lot of love. And now, since I've been playing it in patch 917, I did like it before patch 917, but now, in the most recent patch, this thing just feels like an absolute monster. We're in a top tier matchup here, which is always nice. Remember, the Revalorisé doesn't have any preferential matchmaking, so you are going to have to deal with tier 10 opponents. And when you do, the 200mm of penetration this gun has does feel fairly mediocre, and you might have to dab your 2 key to fire some 250mm heat rounds. But even 250mm on heat is not excellent when we look at tanks like the STA-2, I believe, having 275. But when you're in a top tier matchup like this, it doesn't matter if, gosh, the enemy is statistically a hell of a lot stronger than your team. How many green players do we have? 1, 2, 3 versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wow, okay. Over half of the enemy team are excellent players. We're certainly going to have to pull our weight in this one if we want to get through it. Talking about pulling our weight, we've done exactly 3,000 damage so far. That's a bit of a coincidence. Now, the Revalorisé does struggle in a couple of areas. Number one, its top speed limit isn't great, and even though it's had this great power to weight ratio buff, 40 kilometers an hour, it's not disastrous, right? It's not kind of like what the FV4-202 used to be like, but that has been buffed up to 40, and it's looking like, if the super test is anything to go by, that it might be being increased to 50 kilometers an hour. And then I think that makes the M4A1 Revalorisé the slowest tier 8 premium medium tank, along with I guess the Super Pershing, right? But of course the Super Pershing doesn't have anywhere near the power to weight ratio that the Revalorisé does. Now we're aiming in at the cheeks of the T-28 prototype there. If he was facing his turret directly towards me, I'm pretty sure I couldn't go through the front of his tank with 200mm of penetration. Now we're going to see, yes, he does turn his gun directly towards me and we're unable to go through. So instead, I'm going to be loading heat. Heat will maintain the same penetration over any distance, and against flat, non-spaced armor, like on those American tank destroyers, it is certainly going to be the ammunition of choice. But you can see that I don't really want to be firing too many heat rounds in this game. The APCR rounds on this vehicle are certainly enough for going through this KV-13, and that heat round does feel rather useless. So we get spotted as we make our way forwards. The Scorpion catches a glimpse at us, but I feel like my aim time is much better than the Scorpion when you also take into account the dispersion values of this tank. And you know what, I might even manage to ricochet him occasionally, but he's never going to ricochet me. And also, when it comes down to module damage, this vehicle, not in the same league as the Scorpion. Whenever I play that Tier 8 German premium tank destroyer, I do always feel like I just lose my ammo rack, or especially my gun. All of those lightly armored German tank destroyers do lose their gun very frequently indeed. So it was very important that I fell back from the ridge line that you can see in this location here, all the way along here onto this ridge, because that means that I can provide another level of support for my team. And I thought that the FCM-50T and friends were going to be advancing along the beach, I guess, all the way along the beach on this Overlord map. And the KV-2 has managed to make it into the cap circle. Now I know the KV-2 certainly has a very big derp gun, but he's not going to be spotting me at 360 meters view range unless he's got coated optics and an exceptional commander on his tank. So, securing the base, now we can work back towards the mid-ridge, but unfortunately, look at the enemy team, they certainly have dug in along there, and that is the most important position to take on the Overlord map, in my opinion. This area that you can see all around here, let me outline it for you, is just completely dominant. That allows you to just get shots over the rest of the map, and quite often it's the team that holds that location that is going to win. Now I held it for as long as I possibly could, but when I saw that the FCM-50T, or who I thought was going to be coming across the north, was probably a better target to take out, I fell back. But now hopefully we can retake it. Will the APCR round go into the side of the T-28 prototype? No, it doesn't. The 200mm of penetration on the standard rounds of this tank, not bad when we compare it to the T-34-3, but certainly not great when we compare it to tanks like the Patriot, right? And also the Liberté, which is now packing like 230mm of penetration, which makes the standard rounds on this vehicle certainly feel a little underwhelming, even in a top-tier matchup like this. Although we haven't really had to load too many heat rounds so far, unless we're going to go and finish off the T-28 prototype turret. With a good choice of heat rounds there, just pretty much guaranteeing that we were going to go through that part of his armor. And now with the APCR round popping up, there you go, Super Pershing dealt with as well. And I just feel so confident that what you're seeing the tank do here would just not have been possible previously in this vehicle. This is a combination of the 10 degrees of gun depression allowing me to work ridge lines like never before in this tank, and also the gun dispersion. That gun dispersion, when moving and when turning the turret, you can see that the aim time, it just feels like a regular medium tank now. Not a medium tank which is specialized in dropping 390 alpha damage on your opponents. Now this is a very tricky shot here. Always hard to put ones through multiple layers of bushes and trees there because you can't see the outline of the tank clearly unless you aim completely at the front of him. So we managed to take out the KV-13, and now all that is left is a Scorpion G on the enemy team, but certainly something you've still got to be afraid of, especially if he takes out the 5100 and plays quite sneaky. We could be in trouble. But we do have an M12 giving us some fire support as well, and against a lightly armoured German tank destroyer, that certainly isn't going to be taking hits from artillery. And when you think about it, the Revalorisé, it doesn't have the best armor. What is it exactly? 50 at the front, 38 at the side, and 38 at the rear. That's pretty awful. You can tell that this truly is a tier 5 hull of a tank, but with now an awesome gun and lots of capabilities to truly justify its position as a contender for one of the best tier 8 premium vehicles. So now that I know that the Scorpion is not located towards the south, I'd be thinking, what would I be doing if I was the Scorpion? If I was the Scorpion, I would try and make my way up here, around here, or alternatively make all my way around here. I would want to get back towards the middle of the map to be able to shoot out and defend the cap circle, and it looks like the Scorpion was thinking exactly that. We put one into him. Unfortunately, it was a low roll. He's going to come around the corner and try and shoot me. Now I've got 1,200 hit points, so unless he sets me on fire or ammo racks me, I can take a hit from this fellow. And if he wants to sit behind that rock, well, you do know there's an artillery left on my team. And there you go, the M12 finishing off the Tier 8 German premium tank destroyer. And what a round in the M4A1 Revalorisé. 5,644 damage, well above and beyond the Call of Duty of what you would expect for a Tier 8 premium medium tank. Awesome round here. This was unsurprisingly an ace tanker for 1,594 base experience points, also a high caliber. That is a 5,000 experience, double when we also take into account that you get a little bit of bonus experience just for playing a premium vehicle. And of course, the main reason people play their premium vehicles is to make loads of credits, and that certainly was the case here. 131,000 credits profit, even after resupplying the full ammunition of this tank and a couple of heat rounds. This certainly was an awesome carry against a statistically stronger team, and I just don't think it would have been possible with the previous version of the M4A1 Revalorisé. And you know what? I think this has now replaced the AMX CDC, at least as my favorite Tier 8 French premium tank. And one of the best things about this vehicle is it's also one of the cheapest too, costing 7,200 gold. That's way cheaper than the T-34-3, which is costing 11,000 gold. And while it certainly is nice to have that increased armor and the preferential matchmaking, I think for a medium to advanced player, I would thoroughly recommend the M4A1 Revalorisé over the T-34-3 now. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this video, or maybe it was just useful to you. If it was, please consider giving it a like. It really helps the channel out. And also let me know in the comments which tank reviews you feel that my channel is missing at the moment, and I'll try and get back to work on some of them. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.